Buhari gets 14-day deadline over 2.6 billion budget for travels, meals. President Muhammadu Buhari has been given 14 days ultimatum to cut the 26 billion presidency budget for the construction of the presidential wing at the State House, medical center, local and foreign travels, meals and refreshment, sitting allowance and welfare package. The ultimatum was issued by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, Serap, urged the president to use some of the savings to address the growing level of deficit, as well as improve public health care facilities across the country. Also urged him to send to the National Assembly a fresh supplementary appropriation bill which reflects the reduced proposed spending on the construction of the State House Medical Center, local and foreign travels, meals and refreshments, and welfare package for its approval. In the letter dated 9 October 2021 and signed by Serap Deputy Director Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization said, many Nigerians will find it quite odd, unfair and unjust that the government is spending so much money on many of these items in the middle of a public borrowing crisis. The proposed spending could be better allocated to improve access of Nigerians to basic public goods and services. The government would continue to borrow to fund the country's budget until there is a substantial cut to the cost of governance. The government should stop spending so much money on these items. Persistent borrowing are neither sustainable nor fair to the Nigerian people. According to Serap, your government has a responsibility to ensure the interests of the well-being and prosperity of Nigeria and its citizens. The growing budget deficit and debt problems threaten Nigeria's access to essential public goods and services and will hurt future generations if not urgently addressed. The letter read in part, Serap also urged you to publish details of spending on construction and repairs of the presidential wing at the medical center and office furniture and fittings since May 29, 2015. The proposed spending figures highlight the lack of political will to cut the cost of governance. Starting from the presidency, this spending is unsustainable and would take away critical funding to provide access to equality healthcare and education. This would leave the poorest and most vulnerable people without access to these essential public goods and services and burden the next generation. According to our information for the Office of the President, you recently proposed in the 2022 appropriation bill to spend 24 8 to spend $24 billion for the construction of the presidential wing at the State House Medical Center, local and foreign travels, meals and refreshments. The construction of the presidential wing will cost 21 billion naira. 2 billion is proposed to be spent on general travel and transport, while 301 billion will be spent on foodstuff, catering, materials, supplies is proposed to be spent on refreshments, meals, honorarium, sitting allowance, publicity, and advertisements. For the office of the Vice President is proposed for local and foreign travels, meals and refreshments, purchase of office furniture, fittings, and other expenses. The details are 778 billion is proposed to be spent on general travel and transport. 168 billion is proposed for office, stationaries, computer, consumables, printing of documents, uniforms, other clothing, foodstuff, catering, material, supplies. 2 billion is proposed for cooking gas and fuel. cost is proposed to be spent on refreshment, new honorarium, seating allowance, publicity, and advertisement is proposed for computer software acquisition, while is proposed for the purchase of motor vehicles. 25 is proposed for the purchase of office furniture and fitting. We would therefore be grateful if the recommended measures are taken within 14 days of the receipt and or publication of the letter. If we have not heard from you by then, SERAP shall take all appropriate legal action to compel your government to comply with our request. SERAP is concerned that the huge spending is neither necessary nor in the public interest, especially in the face of the country, their economic position in the scant allocation to education and health. And the growing level of borrowing by your government to fund the 2022 budget, spending limited public funds on the construction of the presidential wing at the State House Medical Center, local and foreign travels, meals and refreshments, and sitting allowance and welfare package at a time the government is borrowing to fund the budget would undermine your government's constitutional and fiduciary duties to ensure a responsible budget spending. The country's fiscal situation must be changed and changed quickly through some combination of cuts in the areas highlighted above. Cutting waste and apparently unnecessary spending would go a long way in addressing the budget deficits and debt problems. The recommended measures would also ensure that your government is spending the country's maximum available resource to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights to basic needs of the poor and the marginalized group. That's if Buhari will actually understand what this whole grammar is all about. Just imagine them spending all our money on unnecessary things. How can these people be this mean and wicked? Just imagine why the masses are suffering on a daily basis. They are getting rich, enjoying themselves on a daily basis. Wow. Now, what for Nigeria? Oh, may God visit Buhari, Malami Lawal, and Bajabiamila with his wrath before this month ends. I thought Buhari wasn't corrupt when I voted for him. Well, I am highly disappointed. How will he not say that Nigeria is better under his regime, 24 billion, when millions of Nigerians can't eat once in a day? Imagine, these people are so mean with all this reckless spending and going about borrowing and borrowing. The poor people are dying out of hunger on a daily basis, and they are there spending our money for no reason. Well, you can go to the comment section and share your take on this article. Thanks for listening.